the CEO of Siemens testifying to his own government that Germany is no longer worth investing in. It already spends over 100 billion euros annually on social security. 2 lakh businesses were closed. The failure to innovate in technology. Germany attracted the wrong immigration politically. At their peak in late 2022, German wholesale electricity prices hit 46.5 euro cents per kilowatt hour, nearly 5 times the European average. Volkswagen announced something that had never happened in company's 87-year history: plant closures. For most of the 20th century, 3 words meant something. Made in Germany. It meant precision. It meant engineering. It meant the most reliable machines, the finest chemicals, the best cars on earth. For 70 years, Germany was the industrial backbone of the entire Western world. And then, quietly, it started falling apart. In 2023, Germany's economy shrank. In 2024, it shrank again. 2 consecutive years of recession. The longest economic stagnation in 7 decades. More than 248,000 industrial jobs gone since 2020. In what used to be the workshop of the world, the head of Siemens, one of Germany's most iconic companies, told the German parliament, "There is nothing that would speak in favor of investing in Germany." The CEO of Siemens testifying to his own government that Germany is no longer worth investing in. This is a story of how that happened, how the country that invented the car, the chemical industry and modern engineering lost the plot, and whether anyone can find it again. To understand what Germany is losing, you have to understand what it built. In 1945, Germany was rubble. Literally, 20% of all housing destroyed. Industrial output was 1/3 of what it was before the war. Millions of working-age men were dead. Observers genuinely expected Germany to become a charity case, permanently dependent on American aid. That didn't happen. In 1948, a stubborn German economist named Ludwig Erhard did something radical. He abolished price controls and rationing, almost overnight. No bureaucracy, no gradual phasing, just the market is open. The black market disappeared in days. Goods flooded back into stores, and the economy exploded. Between 1950 and 1959, West German GDP grew at 8% per year, every year for a decade. Industrial production quadrupled, per capita output doubled. Wages rose 80% between 1949 and 1955. By 1960, Germany was the 3rd largest economic power on the planet. The Germans called it the Wirtschaftswunder, the economic miracle. But it was not just a recovery, it was a reinvention. Germany built a specific kind of industrial economy, not mass market, not cheap. Precision manufacturing, high-value exports, cars, chemicals, machinery, pharmaceuticals, engineering. BASF, the world's largest chemical company. Bayer, Siemens, Volkswagen, BMW, Bosch, Mercedes. These were not just brands, they were the architecture of global industry. Germany became the world's largest exporter in 2003, beating the United States. That was the peak. Germany's industrial model had a very specific logic. Buy cheap energy, use it to manufacture high-value goods, export them globally, maintain a massive trade surplus, reinvest in engineering. Simple, elegant, brutally effective. The energy came from 2 sources, domestically coal and nuclear, and then cheaply piped Russian gas, which expanded massively under Chancellor Merkel via the Nord Stream pipelines running directly under the Baltic Sea. Germany deliberately made itself dependent on Russian gas because it was cheap. The goods were produced by a workforce with a very particular structure. Germany's famous Mittelstand, tens of thousands of small and mid-sized manufacturers, family-owned, hyper-specialized. Companies that make only one thing but are the best in the world at making it. And the whole system was held together by a social contract, the IG Metall Union. Co-determination laws that put workers on company boards, job protection agreements that lasted decades. It was one of the most sophisticated industrial ecosystem ever assembled. It had 4 major vulnerabilities, and all 4 hit at once. The first fault line was energy, and Germany built it with its own hands. In 2011, after the Fukushima disaster in Japan, Chancellor Angela Merkel made a historic decision. Germany would shut down all its nuclear power plants. By 2022, the policy was called the Energiewende, the energy transition. At the same time, Germany was doubling down on Russian gas through Nord Stream. Analysts warned this was dangerous, that you cannot close your zero-carbon baseload power and replace it with an autocrat's pipeline without consequences. Those warnings were ignored. Then in February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine and Vladimir Putin cut the gas almost overnight. Germany's energy model collapsed. Electricity prices exploded. At their peak in late 2022, German wholesale electricity prices hit 46.5 euro cents per kilowatt hour, nearly 5 times the European average. France, which kept its nuclear plants running, saw prices a fraction of that. The energy-intensive industries, chemicals, steel, glass, ceramics, aluminium, this was not just a problem, it was an existential emergency. BASF, the world's largest chemical company, based in Germany for 150 years, announced a $10 billion investment in China and began shifting production abroad. It was not just BASF. Across Germany's chemical and industrial sectors, companies began the same calculation. The math no longer works here. The nuclear phase-out that was supposed to be a green triumph had become an economic catastrophe. The second fault line was China, and Germany walked right into it. For 2 decades, China was Germany's growth engine. Germans built the factories. Germans sold the cars. Half of Volkswagen's profits, a third of BMW's revenue, the Chinese market was Germans' golden goose. But China had a plan that Germany did not read closely enough. It was called Made in China 2025, launched in 2015. It was Beijing's industrial strategy to stop importing advanced technology and start making it domestically, subsidized by the state. For automotive, that meant electric vehicles. China pumped hundreds of billions into EV development. It built its own battery supply chains. It created BYD, now the world's largest EV manufacturer. And then China stopped needing German engineering. It started competing with it. In 2024, BYD sales in Europe grew by 252%. Chinese EVs arrived in European showrooms, priced 30 to 40% cheaper than German equivalents. Even after the EU imposed import duties of up to 37.6%, Chinese brands kept coming. Meanwhile, German car makers had been slow, catastrophically slow. Volkswagen spent years defending its diesel engines, literally falsifying emissions testers in the scandal that shook the company in 2015. By the time it pivoted seriously to electric vehicles, China had a decade head start. Volkswagen's sales in China collapsed. In the first quarter in 2025, Volkswagen's operating profits fell 37%. The company that once called China its home away from home was being pushed out by companies that learned everything from Germany and then built it cheaper. In September 2024, Volkswagen announced something that had never happened in company's 87-year history: plant closures. Not one plant, 3, and mass layoffs. 35,000 jobs cut by 2030. 1 in 4 positions in Germany. Wages cut by up to 20%. A job protection agreement that had stood since 1994 cancelled. 1 lakh workers went on warning strikes in December 2024, the largest labor action at Volkswagen in living memory. A last-minute deal with IG Metall Union averted immediate factory closures, but came at the cost of slashing production capacity by 7 lakh vehicles per year. This was not just Volkswagen. Ford closed its plants in November 2025. 4,500 workers gone. Bosch announced massive layoffs, cutting 7,600 jobs. In the first half of 2025 alone, the German automotive sector shed over 51,500 jobs. According to Ernst & Young, Germany lost more than 70,000 industrial jobs by the end of 2024. By the end of 2025, the total across key sector had reached 248,000. The automotive industry is not just a sector in Germany. It accounts for roughly 5% of GDP and supports millions of jobs across the supply chain. When it bleeds, the whole economy bleeds. And Germany's economy had been bleeding for 3 years straight. But here is what makes this more than just an energy crisis or a China problem. Germany has structural problems that were always there. The other crises just exposed them. First, labor costs. Germany's manufacturing labor costs are more than twice as high as Slovakia or the Czech Republic. Mercedes is shifting production to Hungary, where an hour of work costs 12.8 euros versus 41.8 euros in Germany. Volkswagen is moving Golf production to Mexico. The math is simple and brutal. Second, bureaucracy. Germany is legendary for it. Starting a business takes months. Building a factory can take years in permits. Third, demographics. Germany is one of the fastest aging societies on earth. The working age population is shrinking. By some estimates, the workforce could contract by 7 million people over the next 2 decades. Fewer workers, more retirees, higher social security burdens. The government already spends over 100 billion euros annually on social security. Fourth, and perhaps most damaging, the failure to innovate in technology. Germany dominated the 20th century's industries, but it missed the 21st century's. No German tech chains, no German equivalents of Google, Apple, Amazon or Samsung. While Silicon Valley was building the digital economy, Germany was defending the internal combustion engine. The country that taught the world precision engineering never built the digital layer that runs modern industry. In 2024 alone, 2 lakh businesses were closed, a 16% increase from 2023. The highest business closure rate since 2011. Germany desperately needs workers. Its working age population is shrinking by roughly 3 lakh people per year, with 4 to 6 million fewer workers projected by 2035. Immigration should be the safety valve. The modern phase began intensively in 2015 when former Chancellor Angela Merkel opened Germany's doors with her famous phrase, "Wir schaffen das. We can manage this." It started as a humanitarian response, welcoming over 1 million refugees from conflict zones like Syria and Afghanistan. Over 1 million refugees in 2015 alone. But the immigration it received was not the immigration its economy needed. In 2024, only 53,000 out of 610,000 residence permits granted to non-EU nationals were employment related. The rest were humanitarian or family migrants. Meanwhile, roughly 70% of people in Germany without a school qualifications are migrants, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Meaning, a large share of arrivals were not immediately filling the skilled manufacturing and engineering roles of Germany's factories desperately need. The cost of housing, language training, and social support added tens of billions in public expenditure. The political fallout was severe. Immigration became the dominant issue of the 2025 election. Meanwhile, the workers Germany actually needed, skilled EU migrants from Romania, Poland, and Bulgaria, are leaving. Net EU migration to Germany fell 66.8% in 2024. Germany attracted the wrong immigration politically, failed to attract the right immigration economically, and is paying for both at once. So where does Germany stand today? Germany's GDP contracted for 2 consecutive years, 2023 and 2024. In 2025, it finally grew by 0.2%, the first expansion in 3 years, and Berlin was calling it a recovery. Then in April 2026, German government cut its 2026 growth forecast in half, from 1% down to 0.5%, citing the fallout from the Iran war and its energy shock. Germany is not bouncing back. The share of industry in Germany's total economic output has fallen to 20.4%. Down from what was once one of the highest in the developed world. Unemployment is rising. The new Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, has promised a turnaround, hundreds of billions in infrastructure spending, defense rethink, deregulation push. He even revived the debate about bringing nuclear power back through small modular reactors. But structural problems don't reverse in election cycles. Here is the uncomfortable truth about Germany's industrial decline. It was not inevitable. It was chosen. The decision to shut the nuclear plants chosen. The decision to bet everything on Russian gas chosen. The decision to defend diesel while China built electric chosen. The decision to let bureaucracy calcify while competitors moved faster chosen. The decision to open the doors to millions without a plan to fill the factory floor chosen. The question is not whether Germany can rebuild. The question for Germany today is who is new Erhard and how much time is left.